In fact, Bonnie has a question. She sent in her question by email, and it's in reference to her grandfather and lung cancer. Her question goes like this. My grandfather died from lung cancer last year. He had been sick for several years before he was finally diagnosed. I think the doctor screwed up and should have diagnosed him earlier. Then maybe he would have had a better chance at survival. Can you sue over a misdiagnosis? That's a good question. Can you?
Well, BJ, why don't you start with that and then I'll chime in.
Yes.
Yes, you can. Yes,
that's the short answer.
Just like the question.
You can sue for a misdiagnosis case. There's just a lot of issues within that. And I thought Carl would explain that.
Yeah, but Morgan, it's a very difficult question to answer in this format. I mean, there's so many variables in it. How aggressive is the cancer? How rapidly does it grow? How much was the delay? Did the delay cause any additional damages, or did the delay actually result in death? I had a case one time where there was a delay in diagnosis of a year. It was a cancer that was in the neck of the bladder. It was clearly missed. It was seen radiographically and the doctor missed it. It went for over a year. But as it turns out, there were no damages because when they finally diagnosed it and took the appropriate steps, which unfortunately resulted in the loss of the man's libido, at the end of the story, what you've got is he had a year longer sex life than he would have had they found it to start with. So yeah, you got to have injury and you got to have damages. No harm, no foul, no damages, no lawsuit. There are other cases where you have a delay in diagnosis in breast cancer. Because of the delay, then you develop metastatic disease and it becomes incurable and fatal. And of course, yes, then you do have that. There are other cases where the cancer is so aggressive that even though there is a delay of a month, 2 months, 3 months, it wouldn't make any difference because the cancer has already metastasized. So that's a very complex, that's a simple question that requires a lot of complex detail to give an adequate answer.
And everything Carl said, Morgan, is based on expert testimony. In a cancer case, you have to have, a doctor criticizing the timeliness of the diagnosis, but you have to have an oncologist who will relay to the jury what the treatment would have been if it had been discovered sooner, what difference it would have made. And those are all medical issues or medical opinions that you need in a medical malpractice case. What you think is misdiagnosis doesn't matter. It's what a doctor says is misdiagnosis.
Yeah, well, that's a very fundamental thing we often overlook in this show because we try to simplify the answers. But when you talk about medical malpractice, you're essentially talking about professional negligence, whether it's a medical doctor, an engineer, a lawyer. There's a whole list in the Georgia Code of professions that are subject to this Professional Liability Act. And in order to bring a lawsuit on any of those, you have to have an affidavit for somebody who is competent in that profession to say that the professional was negligent in some way, or you can't bring a lawsuit to start with.